significantly, as have the data sets that are associated with those measurements. And so has its potential to impact research with all of these new capabilities. But as the number and variety of ARM measurements have grown, so has the complexity of these measurements. And providing the optimum use of all of these data and linking these measurements to models is an ongoing challenge. But back in 2014, recognizing many of these issues, we developed a decadal vision that sought to address some of these issues. It dealt with how to increase the impact of ARM measurements, but a significant part of that document revolved around improving the link between ARM observations and models. This included expanding some of our spatial measurements. We've already been doing a lot of that at SGP, but we expanded our ability to measure the boundary layer around the central facility, also introduced unmanned aerial systems and tether balloon systems to try to get that volume view of the area to link our point measurements to larger scales. And at the same time, we introduced a high-resolution modeling system to provide a modeling link between our observations and large-scale models. That system, which we call LASSO, makes use of WRF, and for some years we emphasized the Southern Great Plains, looking at shallow convection. We are now working on looking at deep convection in a campaign we did in Argentina a few years ago, and are making plans to look at other regimes, marine stratocumulus in the Arctic over the next few years. So again, the focus of all this is to provide this link between ARM measurements and models, and that was a significant focus of that 2014 vision. Meanwhile, between about 2016, 2019, we were starting to hear from the community some additional needs, really getting back to the fundamentals of understanding the impact of our measurements. It was becoming clear through those interactions that we needed to focus on some fundamentals of data analysis. And essentially, as we were getting deeper into probing atmospheric processes, or as our science community was getting deeper into those processes, the requirements of our measurements were becoming increasingly exacting to constrain those processes. And data characterization, specification of uncertainties was becoming increasingly important. And so over a couple of years, we had a number of workshops, and those themes were recurring in those workshops. So about a year ago, we published an update to our decadal vision, and this focuses on these fundamentals. It continues to look at developing new measurement capabilities. It continues to look at linking measurements to models, including providing spatial context for ARM observatories. But there is also an increased emphasis on this in this updated vision for characterizing the measurement data, on making that characterization more efficient, for making use of more modern tools. A basic charge in this vision is for ARM to devote more resources to engaging with our data, for our instrument team, for our data products team to be spending more time in the data, and to leverage a variety of techniques, including long-standing analysis methods and the application of newer AI techniques towards the characterization of ARM measurements. The vision also emphasizes the need for a powerful and flexible computing environment and associated software tools. Thinking back to the basic challenge that we have a growing number and variety of measurements, this implies a growing diversity of code needed to work with these data. To get ahead of this and make the most of these data, we have to work together. Within ARM, we are increasingly leveraging open source code to increase efficiency. And again, it's exciting to see the same thing happening in the broader community and the excitement that brings people here together this week. Our hope is that we can work together to move forward the analysis of these data in the most efficient and effective way. And so I'll wrap up this short presentation by circling back to why ARM exists, to provide measurement data to support your research, to solve what are becoming increasingly critical problems with our environment. And to be successful at this, we need to work together. So I want to thank you again for participating in this workshop, and I look forward to seeing what comes out of the discussions this week. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jim. I will open it up. Are there any questions? If so, please raise your hand. All right. Well, if there aren't any questions for Jim, thank you, Jim. Next, I will just, oh, there is one question, it looks like. Oh, I saw a hand go up. Yes, Alicia.
Thanks, Jim. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thanks, Jim. I mean, when you talked about the connection with models, are you working with, in specific, the E3SM or other large-scale Earth system modeling groups?
Yes, we are working. Well, we've worked with the E3SM folks for a very long time. We have, you're aware of the group of that we refer to as the translators that connect ARM and the science community. These folks also lead the development of data products, and one of these translators, Xiaosheng Ji, is also embedded with E3SM, so he provides a nice link there. But we are trying to step that up as well, and so we've been reaching out to some of the leadership in E3SM over the last 6 months or so, looking for both opportunities to collaborate and also some metrics to assess how that impact is going. And so that's something that Jennifer Comstock and Xiaosheng are working on, also working on with some constituent groups, particularly on the cloud modeling side, to identify specific opportunities. But I guess once we get past the E3SM, once we establish some of these new links, we do want to reach out more broadly. And we have actually a meeting, I think, tomorrow to look at some possible connections with GIS, but expecting more along those lines. Also, we've been involved with GAS, the GUX group, for some time, and so that's provided some good opportunities. So yeah, we are connected to various modeling groups, but we are also trying to build that more over the next couple of years.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Okay, any other questions? Or any closing thoughts here, Jim, before we move on?
No, I think that's fine. I mean, I'm happy to answer questions. If you want to put something in the chat, I'll be hanging out here for a while. So, but just looking forward to hear what folks have to say.
All right. Thanks, Jim.